Well, but why are we so hung up on women? What about men? All these men on Turkish hairlines
Yes,
that are
they
going,
do it.
that
Men
are
want
going
love
and getting
too. Turkish hairline.
Yeah, they are. They're going. Like I see it as common as girls get boob jobs.
Yeah, I'm
men
all
getting
about it.
hair
Well,
transplants.
why can't a man
But
enjoy
not
it?
only, no, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I feel like we're really just like talking about women. It's not just women who fall, victim to these ideals that are being pushed on us and this pressure. Men now, every time I turn my head, I see a photo of a hair transplant a guy gets.
Actually, I know quite a few men in Los Angeles that have had rhinoplasties.
Hey, Sozahdah sisters, let's go.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Sispective. 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 Sispective.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wolfpack group chat. I'm Jamila, sister number 7. I'm Nooreya, sister number 9.
Hello there, Siddiqa, sister number 8.
I'm Shakur, sister number 5.
This is
Sispective. All right, let's get into it. Today's episode is about pretty privilege, the cost of being beautiful. So allegedly, if you're attractive, it's like a cheat code. You can have perks, so you might get free upgrades, maybe get out of a speeding ticket, whatever it is that women use their beauty for. And let's be real, being attractive can be a cheat code. People will smile more at you, doors probably open faster, and sometimes you probably can skip lines or tickets or even whole consequences. So,
A lot more than that.
Pretty privilege, is it always a blessing? I mean, like, is it always a win? When does it work against you? I'd like to get your perspective.
Pretty privilege is like an unspoken currency that changes value based on context. Just like economic inflation, overexposure or shifting standards can devalue it. When it becomes too common or expectations rise, power fades. So what once opened doors may now just get you a simple glance or create the pressure to keep up.
I agree. I was reading about this, and privilege is a real phenomenon. It's under social research, it's considered physical attractiveness or bias or something called the halo effect. Now, the halo effect is when someone who observes you as attractive thinks that you're more kind, you're more capable, and you're more trustworthy without any actual evidence, just because you're pretty. And studies show that even infants between the ages of, 0 months to 4 months actually are keen to attractive faces and lean more towards wanting to look in the direction of a face that is attractive. So Jamila, what do you have to say about that?
Oh, my baby loves me. Nahar loves me.
She loves all of us.
Oh
She
my
stares at
gosh,
me all the time.
She smiles every time she sees my face. So, hey, I think that halo effect really does work. But to counter that, Sid, in terms of halo effect, this also can breed resentment, right? And it can also objectify assumptions and assumptions of lacking of depth. So I think there's a good and bad to being attractive as a woman.
Definitely. I recently read about surveys dating back to like 2020 up to 2025. There was a survey done of like 2,000 people, women in particular. And it showed different interviews of people that were being attractive being interviewed versus ones that were rated less attractive. And more people said that the ones that were unattractive were likely to commit crimes, and the ones that were attractive would maybe in further life be more successful. And there's actually a study that was done in 1965. It's called a longitudinal study, where when these studies take decades to complete. The study started in 1965 and it went up until our time now. And it was like 17,000 children were incorporated into this data collection and study in the UK. And children that were 7 that were deemed attractive or keen on the eyes were actually 50 years later were more successful, had better jobs, and were happier in life. And isn't that
Okay,
crazy?
so let me-
To add on to that, I don't think that's always necessarily true, because there's a lot of like good-looking people who commit crimes. Like they have a whole
Obviously,
psychology.
I know
Mugshot
that.
shotties.
I
Christian
know.
told us about.
I'm just saying what data has shown is that people were assuming that because they weren't attractive, between the two, they were more likely to commit the crimes versus the ones that were attractive. I'm not saying it's true. Everyone that's pretty is not going to commit a crime. It was what people were gathering amongst themselves.
You know, it's so funny, Sid. You're actually right. There are two things that I've actually heard from someone. The first thing is called prison bays, and the other one is called mugshot shouty. I didn't even know that existed. So prison bays, there's like this male model, African American with like light blue eyes. I think his name was like Jeremy Meeks or something. And he literally, his career took off after he was released from prison. And I mean, mugshot shouties. I mean, I think Sid's been on there, right? I felt like I've seen your face, girl.
What do you mean?
Twice.
Shout out to Chris, one of our producers back here. He actually showed me a mugshot shotty that he found last night, and she was cute. And I looked and I said, wait a minute. There's like, it's her mugshot, and she looked really beat in her mugshot. And then there was like a regular like video of her just like throwing her hair back, like probably somewhere in the country. And then I looked at the fence. I said, well, what did she get locked up for? And it says possession of machine guns, silencers, drug with intent to distribute. And I said, now, you know, goddamn well, she was holding it for her man, and she took the rap because he probably had prior. So she took one for the team. And it's like, I mean, damn, it's just guns, bro.
She sounds like Salt or Laura Croft. That's what she sounds like.
No, and she was cute.
Gangsta boo. You don't know that.
A gangster boo, yes.
I mean, Shakur, you like to act like you a gangster sometimes. Let's be real, girl.
There's no act, baby.
She could have been the Bonnie. She could have been the Bonnie to his Clyde.
Could have been.
Yeah.
But either way, she was cute. And I'm like, there's a lot of those cute women that I'm like, that commit crimes. Like, I don't think beauty exempts you from doing something wrong. If anything, you're more likely to get away with it.
Well, it sounds like you've gotten something easier because of your looks, Shakur. So please tell us, sis.
I'm not going to lie. I'd be remiss to say that I have not had perks throughout my life, whether I wanted them or not.
What kind of perks you talking about?
That that have, you know, made things more enjoyable and more interesting. Like, let's just say that doors open easier for you when you know how to play the game.
I agree. They don't call me Signature the Connector for no reason. I definitely have felt the perks of being, easy on the eyes, and also being able to just kind of get what I want, especially when it comes to, I don't know, nightlife or going out, or being able to get a reservation somewhere easily, or having a table that's just mine and you and the girls. Jamila, you felt these perks?
I mean,
that's how
I
you
have.
met John.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well, I mean, yes.
Let's not forget, girl. You're welcome, John.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Pew, pew, pew.
Big shout out to my brother John.
That's funny. I think that the playing damsel in distress sometimes works in your favor too.
Beauty, we know it's helpful, but Siddiqa, has there ever been a time where your beauty's hurt you?
I think so. I believe I was working a contract, Jamila, you were experiencing this with me up north. And I remember just being the only girl that looked like me working in this hospital up north. And I would walk into the space. I was in the operating room, and I'd walk into a room where we were about to have surgery, and I would hear the girls talk about, oh, what is she doing here? Oh, she's just Instagram. Oh, look at her. She's probably just talking all this shit because they had gotten a hold of my Instagram, or they saw what I looked like, and they thought I maybe just got the job because of that, or I didn't belong there. And they told me to stick to my real job, which was modeling. And I ended up actually losing that contract. And suing and won. But anyway.
Well, just to be clear, Sid, you work as a registered nurse.
Yeah, just to
in
be
the
clear, I
hospital.
work as a registered nurse, and I work in the emergency room and the operating room. And there's times where I walk into a situation in the hospital where it's like, oh, are you the nurse? Oh, are you, okay, you work here? Oh, you have credentials? And I'm judged based off what I look like. And my looks is then transferred over to, am I intelligent? So there's a downfall of sometimes people might think that you're more trustworthy and maybe intelligent, and other times they think, oh, you're beautiful, so you can't be smart. You must be getting around on your looks this entire time. And it actually affected me in the workplace. It was literally what I looked like affected my job. I remember calling Jamila, and her and I were crying on the phone because of the prejudices I was getting because of how I looked, because I don't look like a registered nurse, whatever that looks like. So there is a downfall. It can cost you your job. It costed me mine.
You know what, to build more on that, Sid, there are so many assumptions that come along with, you know, pretty privilege. Like my entire life, I had people assume that because I looked too polished, that I wasn't capable of complex thought. As if intellect and aesthetics are mutually exclusive. It's a common misconception that external beauty implies a lack of complexity or depth. And in any workspace you go into, it's kind of like the give or take. It's like if you're too pretty, then you can't be smart. And if you're really smart, then you're probably not that attractive. It's just the constant, it's like, again, the benchmark keeps on getting moved. So while there are perks, there's also, it's a double-edged coin. It really is.
Yeah, to that effect, I agree, Shakur, because sometimes when you want someone's ear, all you're going to get is their eyes.
Correct.
And that's all they're interested in. And you get put into situations in a workplace setting where you get unwelcomed advances and you just have to kind of brush them off and your way out of it and just kind of let it slide.
And it wasn't even my coworkers. Sometimes I'd come to a patient and I'd be connecting them to a monitor and they would say, well, what are you doing working here? Why are you a nurse? Look at you. And it's kind of like, I'm insulted. I'm also, it's flattering, but it's also insulting. Like, what do you mean? Why can't I be here? Why can't I be providing service for the community because of what I look like? And Jamila, I know you for sure have faced that as well.
You actually took the words right out of my mouth. Just in medicine in general, it's really a men's playground when you're working with surgeons, the ego, right? And then just women in general, like you're taking on either a nursing role. I work as a physician associate, like those roles already, they just assume. And now you have someone who might be attractive or easy on the eyes. And yes, of course, I was told, you need to go be on a soap opera. Or are you really treating me? Is this real life? And like you said, I brush it off because what are you going to say to your patient?
It's kind of a boys will be boys mentality that women are forced to adopt.
Yeah.
But so, Siddiqa, after that experience, would you say that you started to kind of play it down a bit, or did you just continue carrying on the way that you were?
I definitely confronted the situation, but I forgot to mention there's situations where I'll be in the ER and I'll have a patient that's older, a gentleman, and or maybe not a gentleman, but a
dirty perv.
Yeah, a dirty perv, and he'd need to go. He'd need to use the restroom, and he'd say, "Oh, I need a catheter, a condom cath, just so I could touch his privates." And then when I would do it, he would say, "Hold it like you mean it."
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, what do I do right here? Like that's literally a real life story. And you're like, you're sitting there and they lie and say they have to be cleaned and they need help. And it's like, they only want me to touch them.
Girl.
So they're taking advantage of the fact that I'm easy on the eyes and I'm also in medicine. And I'm not going to say anything. They're like 70 years old. They're post-STEMI. And it's like, whatever, you deal with it.
You should have said that's above my pay grade, sir.
And I think that a lot of pretty privilege comes with brushing things under the carpet and sweeping them under the carpet. And it's like, well, fuck, should we be doing that? Because there is a very dark downfall of being pretty and having privileges.
Well, to add to that, Sid, it's like, again, there's a duality when it comes to pretty privilege. It helps when it opens doors, but it hurts when it closes minds. There is a fine line between being seen and being reduced to what's seen. You just, it's that balance that you have to be able to navigate through life. And sometimes those lines get blurred and you don't know how to differentiate between the two, not just you as the person, but the person outside looking at you.
Well, it sounds like it's not really a privilege then, is it? I mean, seriously, based on your guys' stories, I have one funny story I have to tell you guys.
Please tell.
Please, it's so hilarious. So I was in the ER and this guy comes in and he has his abscess between his ass crack, okay?
An abscess
In his
between
taint?
the ass
Abscess. He had
In
an
his taint?
abscess in his taint, okay?
Well, damn.
And
For those of you who don't know what taint is, it's the area between
Your
the
balls
asshole
and your asshole.
and your pee hole. It's the taint.
so he thinks he had a chance with me, and he had told the girl that was with him to see if I would go on a date with him.
After you just released
After
him the
I just
abscess?
released some pus from his anus, he thought that he had a chance. And I thought, oh, this is comical. I mean, it's like the gall that, some people have. So I just thought that was
No, for sure. What I do now, because I don't want to get those remarks at the workplace, I wear a mask 24/7. 24/7, I have a mask on. All you see is my eyes. And even then, oh, where are you from? Look at those eyes. I'm going to start just wearing a burqa.
Girl, that's probably why they have women wearing burqas, because what's underneath all that.
Oh, shit. That's what it's all about.
So I think pretty privilege for women is different than pretty privilege for men.
Yes.
I think if a man is pretty, he's seen as charismatic, as probably successful, as charming. I think it's different.
It's a power enhancement.
They're probably, there's a power enhancement. They're probably smarter versus a woman. They're like, she's probably just dumb. She probably just only talks about, nail polish.
It diminishes her
Yeah.
credibility.
Yeah.
I definitely agree to that. Touching up more on what you said about the dynamics between men and women and how pretty privilege translates across the boards for genders, it is very different. Like, again, how you were saying, with a man, it's like a bonus level that you've reached. With a woman, it's like, well, you take her less serious and it could potentially diminish her credibility. It's crazy that it's the same game, but you carry different weight. And it's like, you're scored differently for the same looks, and it doesn't make sense. So it's an additive for a man, but for a woman, it could be, again, a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And it just
How
it
do you think-
translates differently.
That just brought up a question in my head. How do you think that relates to like pretty girls on OnlyFans? Is that pretty privilege because they're good looking? They create an account, they get subscribers, they put content out
Girl,
there.
not all the girls on
and some of those
OnlyFans
girls
are pretty.
But some of these girls are pulling in a lot of money. Hey, 11, what are your experiences with pretty privilege? Has it been more helpful or hurtful to you?
Oh, I've seen both sides of pretty privilege in my own world. There's been times that it's worked for me, like I've gotten into a few events because of the promoter thought I fit a vibe. But I've also felt the opposite in work settings and have had people assume that I was just there to look cute and not contribute ideas.
I feel you, girl.
11, you are my sister.
Yeah. She gets it.
I've experienced that too, girl.
As you know, I work at the AI Chicks, and in a brand pitch meeting, a guy literally skipped over me, assuming that I wasn't there to contribute. I finally jumped in with all the analytics they needed. Then suddenly, I was Miss 11. That's impressive. It's a perfect example of how pretty privilege can lead to others underestimating you.
Got it.
That's crazy. So there's a couple things I wanted to touch upon. First, I want to tell you guys a story that actually, like, it's insane. So in my line of work, I do concierge medicine. I work with like millionaires and billionaires even. And one day, and I always go in with my scrubs and my white coat. And one day I had this client that was a good client in terms of like, he was consistent. So I made good money. One day I was in, and after I had finished his IV, he looked at me, he goes, well, look at you. You're the most expensive prostitute in all of LA, aren't you? And I was like, oh,
Come
shit.
again?
And I was like, I don't know, I'm getting emotional. I was like, damn, like the disrespect,
But that's a him thing. That had nothing to do about
But
just
it
the
doesn't
beauty.
matter. We have feelings. It
Yeah.
still matters.
What
You know
did you
exactly
say?
what
What
11
did
I,
experienced.
I shut my mouth. I didn't say a thing.
Oh my God.
And you still served him?
I was done with this IV, and I stopped.
And you shut your mouth?
I
can't
what was I
believe it.
what was I gonna say?
Jamila.
Watch your mouth
Like,
is
well,
what you would have
I mean,
said.
well, what
Fuck
I,
ass. I
well,
would've
what
been
I
like,
said was
girl,
this.
stop.
I
I would have
didn't.
said that makes you a pretty cheap pimp.
No.
No, a pretty cheap fucking
Here's the thing.
client.
Here's the
John.
thing. Here's the thing, though.
We can't say that name.
Here's the thing, though. When you're in the company of someone, because again, concierge medicine, you're going to their home. When you're in their personal space, right? And they have power. I'm talking about billionaire power.
I would've pepper sprayed him and got up out of
They
there.
can literally make or break your career. You know what I mean? He didn't make any advances at me, but it was those words that honestly
He was
were,
trying to diminish you.
He was. And I realized that he just hated women for no reason. And I tied it back to, he would always talk about his mom.
It's
like,
because
I
his
don't
mother
like my,
didn't hug him enough as a
his
child.
mother didn't love him enough. But it's not like I just stayed quiet. I think I had to compose myself. But what I did say was like, no, clearly, obviously, I'm not a prostitute. You see me fucking giving you an IV and I'm providing medical service. Clearly, I'm not
Why
that.
didn't you clap back at
I
him?
would have added another 0 to his invoice just for
It
saying
just shows that. It just shows that pretty privilege downsides is generational because you experienced it, I experienced it, Noor, Shakur, 11's experienced it. She's Gen Z, and it's like, when can it ever be escaped? When are we able just gonna be able to be, and not have to pay fines or consequences for being good looking?
But, and I also was
it's gonna
thinking,
be forever.
I was thinking about you, Noor. You work in a private equity company. You're the only female in your company. I mean, and you're obviously attractive, right? So I just wonder, like, I mean, you're probably not going to say it out loud, but like, I'm sure you probably get hit on. You go on these work events. There's probably you're all constantly around men. Do they ever make you feel less than? Do they respect your opinion? Are they welcoming?
I'm very grateful that the men that I work with have really brought me up like under their wing and respected me and treated me like family. So I've never had to suffer any of that with them. But I have met other people just being in the industry who, of course, have tried their move. I don't blame them. If I saw me, I'd hit on me too. So, so I mean, you can't blame a guy for shooting his shot. And fortunately, nothing's ever gone too far. I've had some pretty hairy experiences sometime, and I just kind of, take it as a learning experience, take it as what comes with it, and just move on. And I think that in my experience, that pretty privilege plays out differently for men than women.
Yeah, they
So-
have more of an advantage. For them, it's charismatic. It's, wow, you're successful. Oh, I want to be with him. And for women, it's, oh, she got this job because she's good looking. Oh, it was her tits, it was her ass, it was her face. So it's actually,
Or she screwed her way to the
yeah,
top.
that's the number one thing. It's always that she slept her way to the top.
Studies show that when women value is tied to looks, aging, or weight gain, it actually can cause self-esteem issues. So
100%.
I mean, that's just how I think we're engineered.
And you know why I think that it is? I think that's because beauty fades. And as you get older, the gravity comes into play. Maybe your boobs are lower, your butt's not as perky. It's just all the natural process of aging. And I think social media has really perpetuated these unrealistic and unattainable beauty standards. Like, did you know, for example, there's like body dysmorphia that people are getting from using filters? And surgeons have reported girls coming to them requesting to look like these filtered images that don't exist.
Now that's crazy.
Because of the body dysmorphia that they've developed. It's a real thing. But I personally but there's still women in Hollywood that don't conform to those ideals, like Sarah Jessica Parker. She was on Andy Cohen and she was talking about the unequal scrutiny that men and women have when it comes to gray hair. If a man has gray hair, he's sexy, salt and pepper. He's a sexy, like, what do they call it? A wolf or something? A gray
silver
fox.
fox. Silver fox.
But when women have it, it's like, girl, you need to dye your hair. It just looks different. It ages women. But there's, Pamela Anderson, she stopped doing makeup when she goes out and she doesn't want to conform to that. Selma Hayek doesn't believe in Botox. Susan Sarandon. There's all these women that promote aging with grace, and they often don't partake into these pitfalls that women fall into by being on social media.
Well, I got to add to that,
beautiful.
Noor. Just because someone says they don't partake in it doesn't mean they're actually doing it. Because a lot of people say they ain't doing it and getting tinkered with, and it's a motherfucking lie.
Well, I could say that with Sarah Jessica Parker.
You can promote it all you want. Say, I ain't been touched, I've been that. Girl, you're lying. There's before and after pictures.
But you can see women like Sarah Jessica Parker. She really is aging gracefully in her own skin.
And people,
she did, but this last season she did some good Botox and it helped her forehead. It
People
did.
were watching
It
Sex
helped.
in the City and saying, oh, this isn't Sex in the City. They don't look sexy anymore.
Her face looks better this season than it did last season. It does. She probably took the criticism and went and applied it.
I want to ask you a question.
And she looked good this last season.
People were literally saying, oh, Sex in the City isn't Sex in the City. Like, they're not sexy on Sex in the City. And it's like, well, what do you think happens to these women?
Ultimately,
Think they're dying that age? They're aging. It's okay. That's relatable.
Like,
That's
look at
part
Cindy
of life.
Crawford. She says the same thing. Maybe she does things, who knows, but she still wants to age gracefully. Look at Brooke Shields. Look how she's changed. Christy Turlington. She was a beautiful model.
No one is exempt from the aging process. May we all be so lucky to reach those ages. People are dying.
So let me ask you a question, Shakur. I know that you're obviously very secure and you like to do things for yourself. But you think using filters and pictures and Instagram and touch-ups, what does that mean to you?
I like how it looks. I'm in the world of AI, baby. I'm in the 2025.
But if you love the way you look and you don't care how you're aging, how you look, I'm just asking, why do you?
Because
why
I like
bother
the way I
filters?
look when I have a filter sometimes, just like you do.
Yeah, but I mean, let me ask this question: are we chasing perfection?
We are chasing perfection.
It depends on what your perfection looks
it's
like.
unattainable perfection.
Here's what I'll
that
tell you.
we're
Can you
trying
reach
to
a certain
attain,
level
yeah.
and be happy with it? Is my question.
So
if you want to look a certain way and you achieve it, and it's done in moderation, are you done? Or are you constantly moving the benchmark? It depends on everyone. It's that is a catered question towards each person. That is a customized question.
Okay,
because what
Shakur.
your standards may be of what you think perfection is may be different from my perspective, my Sispective, and y'all's Sispective.
It's not just the United States that I've noticed. It's in many countries where beauty is both a currency and a burden, right? So in some parts of the world, like in India, for example, right, when the bride gets married, what's the first thing they do on her henna night, right?
They turmeric her.
They're putting turmeric on her body. They're trying to lighten her skin because lighter skin is seen as more beautiful. I don't know if you guys know about other cultures, but I mean, I found that to be it's really fascinating, but also sad at the same time because there are so many women from India that are absolutely beautiful. You know what I mean? So I just find that very interesting.
Just to add on that, I was recently in London with Noor, and we were sitting on a bus just traveling around, and a bunch of schoolgirls jumped onto the bus. Teenage girls. I want to say ages 13 to like 16 max. And they're sitting behind me, and one of the girls is talking about, she's probably 14, 15 years old. She's talking about how she's planning a trip and how she wants to go to either Miami or Malibu and shave her nose down. And then she wants to go to the best surgeon in Beverly Hills. And everything she was talking about was related to surgery and how she wanted to look and how she was viewed in school. And I was just like, these girls are 15 years old. Oh my God, why are they? I never thought about stuff like that when I was 15.
Never.
I didn't even know the word rhinoplasty when I was 15. It wasn't even a thought in my head.
15-year-olds now look like they're 25.
They do.
They all look
They're aging.
You know, this brings up a good question for 11. Girl, what are your thoughts on culture and pretty privilege?
Here's the thing. In our Afghan culture, pretty privilege isn't just about Western beauty standards. It's about being presentable, hair texture, body type, and how proper you appear in public. Some of our aunties will still tell you, oh, you look nice today. Now just lose a little weight and go find the husband. Like, thank you for that unsolicited TED Talk, Kala.
Yeah.
That's so true. It's like, oh,
okay.
I love it.
there's been so many times growing up. It's like, oh, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? You need to get, oh, have you gained any weight? Oh, you should eat more. Oh, maybe she's sad because look how much weight she lost. Oh, poor thing. It's like backhanded compliments we get from the family, right?
Yeah.
I feel you, 11. I feel you. What do you think about that, Shakur?
Pretty accurate.
Right? There's been so many times where I felt that
Spot
cultural
on.
pressure.
Because again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Each person has their own thing and they look at it differently.
And it's funny because in the Afghan culture, the healthier you look, aka more weight gain in your face, the prettier you were.
Or
But
the
here-
more able you were to rear a child.
Or the,
Yes.
or the more wealthy you were of status that you were able to afford to eat. Back in the day, it was like when you were when you were stout and heavier, you were considered more of noble status because that means you were eating well.
well-fed.
Yeah. Or if you were scared, oh, look at that little bird. Oh, she doesn't have hip bearing weight. What's it called? Birth weighing.
No, childbearing. hips.
Childbearing hips is what I'm looking for. And so it's always a thing. I mean, no matter what culture you're in, it's either being overweight is attractive, being underweight is attractive. And it's nice to see that 11 still recognizes that being from her Gen Z girl. So I get you. We all feel you.
Hey, 11, what is the average age in the USA that women or men get a cosmetic procedure done?
In the US, the most cosmetic procedure happened between 35 and 50, and the overall average age is around 40, but the trend is getting younger. Botox often starts around 30. Some Gen Zs are getting surgical work like rhinoplasty, eyelid surgeries in their 20s, and men are increasingly joining in, especially with the Botox and the fillers.
Thanks for that info, 11. You know what's so crazy is that, I work in the industry of aesthetics and anti-aging. And so it sucks because as providers, we're told you should be pushing Botox and fillers because it's still a business for a lot of these if plastic surgeon, nurses, whoever's doing the procedure, they're still getting paid and they're promoting a product. But the reality is that if you get Botox too young, you end up really paralyzing that muscle and then you lose, you end up losing like elasticity at the end. Same with derma fillers. You're literally stretching out your skin. And so when you end up, like a lot of people nowadays, a lot of celebrities, I've seen them, melting their fillers, their skin starts to sag. Like you're separating the tissues in your face. So it's
Yeah.
actually a really harmful thing to do at a young age.
Yeah, especially when she was talking about her rhinoplasty. I'm like, girl, your nose is going to keep growing.
Yeah.
You're going to get a rhino at 16. Your nose and your ears never stop growing. Fact. So you're going to get a rhino at 16. At 25, your nose is going to still be growing. Like at least wait until you're 18, 21 years old to then do that kind of procedure. Being a teen that young, it's just all it's going to do is cause psychological trauma. And Noor was talking to me about something about hair transplants.
Well, before you answer that question, Nora, what do you think is an appropriate age, Sid, for someone to start getting cosmetic work done?
I think 21.
For men and women alike?
I do. I think that the pressures of society when it comes to teens in high school wanting to get surgeries at 18.
Like the bullying and stuff.
Yeah, I think that leads to more procedures. But I think that just like you can't drink alcohol at 21 you're considered an adult, or 25 you're considered an adult. I think that at 21 is when you should start getting surgery. Anything that has teen on the back of it as your number of your age, you shouldn't be having procedures done.
I mean,
You're a teenager. What are you doing having procedures then? You're under your parents' roof. You're not even in college.
21.
I think 21 is a good age.
I disagree on some things, like 21, maybe if you did rhinoplasty, but Botox, most definitely not.
Oh, no, I'm talking about rhinoplasties. I'm
Like
talking
major,
about
going under the knife.
I'm talking about going under the knife, like going under general anesthesia.
Well, but why are we so hung up on women? What about men? All these men on Turkish hairlines. that are going and getting
Turkish hairline.
Yeah, they are. They're going. Like I see it as common as girls get boob jobs.
Yeah, I'm
men
all
getting
about it.
hair
Well,
transplants.
why can't a man
Or
enjoy
not
it?
only, no, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I feel like we're really just like talking about women. It's not just women who fall, victim to these ideals that are being pushed on us and this pressure. Men now, every time I turn my head, I see a photo of a hair transplant a guy gets.
Actually, I know quite a few men in Los Angeles that have had rhinoplasties.
If it makes you feel better and you want to look a certain way, I feel like more power to you. Like, fucking do that shit. I don't think there should be the stigma across what people do and don't want to do for their body.
No
it's your
one's
motivation.
saying, no, that's not what we're saying, Shakur. We're not against doing procedures electively if it makes you feel better or if you want it. We're talking about the pressure that people feel to do it more than normal, especially in recent days because of social media. It's perpetuating unattainable perfection.
So what do we do now?
People are constantly trying to improve themselves and then they're overdoing it and they end up looking like the cat lady.
That's body dysmorphia.
Correct.
But that's a them problem. They don't know when to stop. They didn't do it in moderation. That's on
Which
them.
is exactly what we're trying to say.
So what do you do?
Shakur, that's just our suspective, babe. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what to do. Maybe we should just go into the chest.
I'm with it. Come on.
Hey Wolfpack, it's game time. DM your questions to the podcast to have them added to the chest.
It says here, confession box. Share one thing you've done at work you regret.
Snooze.
I would say having an afternoon delight.
Elaborate, please.
So I was working in a surgery center and I was sort of having a chat with this PA, assistant surgeon, and we went and, took a lunch break and, the rest is history.
So basically, I've basically gathered that between the two of you guys, both in the medical field, you guys like these fucking closet rooms, medical things. What is this thing that
Like,
goes
it's a
on?
Grey's Anatomy. You
It
guys are
is.
living it in real life.
It is a fantasy.
They do say that the most cheating people
as long
are-
as it's not a patient and it's not someone who works directly in your department, you're good.
There you go. There you go.
I guess we've all learned that beauty can open doors, but it also can put you in a box. And, this has been a great conversation today. I know self-love should radiate, as Shakur said, beyond the mirror. And, do what makes you feel good. Just know that, perfection doesn't exist.
Yes, and to that effect, Jamila, I think that true beauty, it exudes from within and you just glow differently when you're confident and you love yourself.
And don't forget to check on your sister, y'all. Tune in for the next episode of Sispective.
Suspective.